America is retreating from global leadership and has been for a while. This is a bad thing. I make this argument, and Mary Beth does too, with regret and sadness, honestly. And I hope that we can all come back in 5 or 10 years, and I'd be more than happy, thrilled to make the argument that America has resumed global leadership and is advancing, not retreating. But we need to be honest about the current situation. In fact, if we want to reverse it, we need to have a clear-eyed appreciation of it. Corey and Vikram will do an excellent job of trying to make things seem better than they are, but we need to not, I think, succumb to wishful thinking. We need to really look at the world as it is and America as it is in order to be able to reverse course. So we are retreating. We've been retreating. What's the evidence? It's pretty simple, honestly. I mean, let's look back 20 years. Was Putin, who's clearly an adversary of ours, stronger or weaker then? He had not yet invaded neighboring countries like Georgia or Ukraine. He hadn't consolidated in nearly as ruthless a way his power internally. He hadn't murdered people in other countries and capitals of other countries. Putin is now more of a threat than he was 20 years ago. And he's a real threat. People can say, oh, Russia's still a small economy and it's not, a threat the way it was under the Soviet Union. But they've done a lot of damage and can do a lot of damage. And right now, China. 20 years ago, it was reasonable to hope that economic liberalization was going to lead to political liberalization, that we would have a kind of collaborative relationship going forward with China. Wouldn't be everything we wanted, but more of what we wanted. Now, Xi has consolidated power in a pretty brutal and ruthless way. He's built up his military and threatening to use it nearby. Obviously, terrible abuses of human rights against the Uyghurs, crackdown in Hong Kong, threatening of Taiwan, intimidating other countries with their economic power. No one really thinks that China is less of a threat or that we're stronger vis-a-vis China than we were 10 or 20 years ago. Some of that China's advance was, of course, inevitable, and some of it's a good thing. The Chinese are living better lives. That's good. They're wealthier. But still, it's clearly a threat and clearly a more hostile, more dictatorial, more totalitarian even regime. Iran, closer to nuclear weapons than they were 20 years ago. Whatever you think of the invasion of Iraq, it did cause Iran to pause its nuclear program. We now know that's been started up again. The Obama administration tried to deal with it one way, the Trump administration another way. I think veterans of both administrations would say, for whatever reasons, it hasn't worked too well, and now the Biden administration is struggling with that. Iraq and Afghanistan, people can differ a lot about the wisdom of what we did there over these 2 decades, but it hasn't ended terribly well, and I say this with genuine sadness, knowing many people who fought there and who were involved in the policy in all the administrations that have had to deal with those difficult areas of the world. And the pullout from Afghanistan was pretty catastrophic, I think, for U.S. credibility and, of course, I'm afraid, for the Afghan people. And even Assad in Syria 10 years ago. He was supposed to be gone. And 8 years ago, 9 years ago, I guess, President Obama said use of chemical weapons, a red line. We haven't enforced that red line. Venezuela, dictators in charge there who allegedly was going to be gone in the last several years, and there was bipartisan support for that. So we haven't been able to do what we hoped to do, what we said we were going to do. As I say, if we come back in 10 years and we can say that things have changed, that would be great. But for now, I'm afraid American global leadership is in decline.